What's up, everyone? Welcome to the edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, Dwight Vick, founder and owner of Vicktory Life LLC. And today I have one of the best point guards ever to come out of VA, specifically the 757 down in the Tidewater area, a standout all-world player at Hampton High School and Hampton University, a guy I grew up watching, someone I admire on and off the court. Jermaine Gholson is in the building. How you doing, Jermaine?
Hey, I'm great, man. I appreciate all those accolades, man, but it wasn't just me.
You know what? It wasn't. Your squads were tough. We're going to talk about those squads, but this is your legacy spotlight. So we got to make sure we give you your chance to reflect and talk about everything. We know you played, at least I know, and I know a lot of guys that played against y'all. Hampton High School and basketball did their thing when you were there, and even after you left, you set a standard and legacy for the program. You and all the guys you played with, Mario and Lonnie and Damon and Sean Hamlet. We're going to get into Pete Baker. We're going to get into all of those guys. But Jermaine, just like everybody I have on the Legacy Spotlight, no matter what, whether they were a standout coach, high school coach, football player, basketball player, superintendent, principal, book writer, we have so many great guests on this spotlight. But it all starts behind the scenes. And what I mean is it starts when you're growing up. It starts, in your childhood, those formative years before you became the great player, before you became the man you are, you had to go through childhood. We all do. Talk about where it all started, where you grew up. Talk about your family, who influenced you. Let's just start off where you grew up, man, and how you got into sports.
It started back in Newport News, Virginia, Terminal Avenue, by the Hampton Rose Boys Club with Boo. My mom was a 17-year-old kid that had me, and I'm at the boys club every day, playing pool, and I couldn't shoot the basketball. I was too small. Try to play football, I was just too skinny. And so I just started, playing in the dirt, playing with tricycles and stuff. So, but it started there. Then I ended up moving to my mom and dad. My mom ended up meeting my stepfather in Newport News, and then we ended up moving to Hampton on Shell Road, the side where Kickerton was.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. That was to me was new. It was different. So we moved down that Shell Road area, and I was maybe about 5 years old. And then we ended up playing football for Armstrong. You know Mighty Armstrong, Coach Keys, Coach Porter, Coach Brown, Jock Brown's father. All of them were my coaches. And my stepfather was like, hey, you're gonna do something. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, football is my first intro. And so, I was tall. They put me at receiver, put me at free safety. And so I did pretty good. I just wasn't one of the best, like a Michael Williams, like a Jock Brown, Kevin Owens, Kevin Johnson, Norris Whitehead, Terrell Porter, you name it. I mean, I played with them all, man. It was so many other guys that I just can't name. It was so many of us. And all of us stayed down in, the bottom of the Shell Road. I would say bottom of the Shell Road. Curtis Fudgem, you name it.
Yeah.
And so I eventually, after football season was over, springtime come around, it's time for basketball. Also in the spring, my stepfather built me a basketball court in the backyard. And with the basketball court, it was, how you got the rims that's going on right now. Everybody has the one that they purchased from Walmart or BJ, wherever it was. My father built one. It had a bicycle rim on the back of it. Had the big old backboard and all this stuff. So, everybody in the neighborhood started coming. And as everybody started coming in the backyard, my father ended up buying me another basketball rim. So I had a full court in the backyard. I lie to you not. Full court in the backyard. Before King Street. Before I even went to Dory Miller's and all that stuff, it was my backyard. I mean, I had a full court. I had people on the sideline. Had no Gatorade, just the water hose.
Yeah, water hose. We had the
water hose. We had the water hose. And so we had the tree stumps on one side. Everybody knew where not to go. If you went over there, you're gonna twist your ankle, whatever. So everybody had dirty socks, dirty shoes every time they left. But we played from about 10 in the morning up to about 6 p.m., man, 8 p.m., man, based on the light and stuff. Jock Brown, Rodney Lawrence, Conrad, Austin. I mean, you name it, man. The list goes on. I had so many people in the background. Lil Red. I don't know if you had a cat named Lil Red.
I have heard
Clifton Mills from Kickerton. Matthew Patterson. You know, we was like
Matthew Patterson was out there.
Oh man, we stayed right next. We stayed on the next block from each other. I said I stayed. I initially was supposed to be going to Kickerton. That's how long I lived down there. But you know, we had some battles down there, man. They would beat me up. You know, sometimes they wouldn't let me play on my own court. You know, so I had to kick the ball. You know, make sure nobody played besides me. So, but I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I want to say Jock Brown's one of the toughest cats that but loved you. You know what I'm saying? He would chump you, not necessarily punk you. And so with him actually, giving me the, say, hey man, just go ahead and tough it up. You'll be all right. And so, that was just one of them, that helped me out. One of the big brothers, I would say, helped me out with my confidence. But my mom and dad never came outside to watch, to pick me up. Somebody beat me up. They tell me, you better get on back out there. And so that was my thing, I lie to you not. One of my big brothers beat me up, and I chased him back home with a brick. I lie to you not. She was like, "You better get up out of here," So.
Oh my goodness! Hey, man, when I hear you talk about that time period, it's crazy, man, because there was no Models, no Dick's Sporting Goods, there was no Boo Williams Sportsplex.
Nope.
I didn't even know about your court in the backyard.
Man, epic.
Yo, that's crazy. You talk about Matthew Patterson and Jock and all those guys there, man. I asked Damon Bacote and Tony Rutland the same question, Marseille Brown and other guys like you guys, this question I'm gonna ask you. In that moment, when you out there competing and hooping, I know you being a kid and you just in there for the moment in competition, but was there a moment at that time, and maybe we'll get to it later in your Legacy Spotlight if it wasn't at that time, where you were like, okay, after I'm getting, we out here going all day, we going at it, we competing. Was there a moment where you were like, yo, I feel like how you have a moment where you reflect and you say, I could be really good at this. I could be great at this. If I could get past him with a layup, or I got him, I picked him. Was there a moment at that time?
Not ever for me. I swear early on, I just wanted to play with my friends. And we just enjoyed competing.
And Jermaine, I'm interrupt you because I just wanted to ask you that because I find it amazing, comparatively speaking, now everybody is anointed based off training and recreational activities or a youth league game when, where you an all-time great and all the guys, a lot of guys around there, y'all were out there, especially during that time. Nobody was in their head like, yo, I'm about to be up next. You were just competing and having fun.
Yeah, that's it. I just competed, waited my time. I admired the older people, the older guys that were playing, even some of the older females that were playing. I was just the person that really watched and learned from everybody else. And to me, young lady Nikki Reed back in the days.
I was hoping.
I'm Cheyenne Hill. I mean, I just Vivian Moss. I used to love watching basketball. Period. There was a girl down in the other end of Shell Road when I moved down there. Later on, a girl named what's her name? Leslie or something like that, I think. But she played with Nikki at Phoebus. And so, when I just love basketball, at a certain point. But to me, I just enjoyed competing with my friends, playing with my friends. I didn't like to lose. I definitely say that. That was one thing I didn't like. I didn't like to lose. And so once I really look at people's different games and stuff like that, that's when it really came on to me that I really can, I can do it. So that was for me.
I'm glad you mentioned the women. I'm glad you mentioned the ladies because I knew about Nikki Reed. She was, before Keisha Fred and Taj Abraham and all of them. And it's amazing because once again, different time, different era. But, I knew growing up on Shell Road on the other side of you. I remember seeing at Park Place, King Street, and in little corners on the street, girls hooping with guys. And it wasn't just like somebody's little sister. It was young ladies women that came through the hoop and get that same bump. Jermaine, you also are part of a very special era. You had some of the best coaches at Warwick High School, at Hampton High School, throughout football and basketball and track, right? And baseball as well. I call it the golden era of Peninsula District and really 757 high school sports. But before we talk about high school sports, AAU was not what it is now. I discussed this with several of your peers and friends. And, now, you can create an AAU organization. And for the, if you do it for the right reasons, it can be very beneficial. Our brother Pete Bacote has a program up north. A lot of guys are doing it he's doing it the right way. But at the same time, I laugh because I try to tell my son, who's 15 years old, he's a hooper like you. He chose to go your route. It's hard for him to understand that back in the 90s and 80s, it'd be like two teams in VA. So, I mean, you talked about your days flirting with football and the pigskin and Armstrong and out there, running routes and making moves. But basketball obviously was, your ticket, and also something you were blessed at. But what AAU programs were you a part of, or youth basketball? When did that whole circuit start?
Before I even go there, let me mention this thing about football. So I wanted to play football. I was going into my freshman year at Hampton, and Coach Brown said, "Boy, your future's in basketball." And so I went to a kick-a-tan in Hampton football game. And so I saw Big Dwight Hollier Psycho playing against my boys at Rocket Chrome and all them. And he did one hit against I forgot what player. Well, I don't know if it was Todd or whoever it was. I remember Ricky Robinson. I might be off with the time frame, but I saw him hit somebody how big he was. I said, man, I'm good. You ain't got to tell me one time. So to me, that was my wake-up calls. Like, football is not going to be your sport, young fella. And so I just let it be. But going back to what you're saying about the basketball piece.
Oh, and shout out to Dwight Hollier, man, a.k.a. Psycho. He was on here, man. Yeah. Great guest, man. And Durac. You got me just reflecting in that moment. There was
never met him, but I just embraced his talent, his size, his skill set. I was like, man, this is not for me. I'm probably about 6 foot, maybe about 150. Man, I couldn't hang with them boys, man. Come around the corner with a
no doubt.
Get hit, man.
No doubt.
And I wasn't that fast.
Oh, really?
No, I wasn't fast at all. Yeah. I was slow, I must admit.
Yeah, no, it's just funny, man, because you got that length and you long, but hey, at least you honest, right?
That came later on, man. That came later on. But coordination wasn't there, growing up back then.
No doubt.
But I think you was just talking about, just like the Boo Williams, the area and stuff like that. Well, again, all I want to do is play, man. It really didn't matter where I played, who I played with. I just like to play. Boo Williams actually reached out to Coach Brower and asked, could I come and play? I was honored. I just seen Kevin Swann, playing against the Russians at the Coliseum. I was like, I'm playing on this same team, not the same team, but after he graduated and stuff, I'm playing with those guys, and I was like, wow, I think I'm okay. I think I can play a little bit, because everybody now you got to pay to play. Well, a lot of people got to play to play, and my parents didn't have the funds back in the days for me to be playing and traveling all over the country and stuff like playing basketball. And, Boo Williams had the sponsorship and stuff like that. So, our trips were pretty much free, even the meals, But I'd like to say all the guys I played with, Mario Mullins, Mike Evans, Greg Taylor, David Blizzard, my teammate, my brother, Petey Sessoms. I mean, we played against some of the top players in the country and beat them all. Chris Webber, Jason Kidd, you name it. We beat them up. We beat them all. Colas Williamson, we beat them all. But I really took AAU basketball as a talent and saying, hey, I think I can play the next level. I always wanted to play college ball, but because I was able to play on the Boo Williams circuit, it gave me even more confidence and say, you know what, we playing street ball. I'm just not with my main boys. That's all. We playing street ball in a way, because to me back then, you ran a little bit of plays, but for the most part, it was just your talent. Your competitiveness to win. So, and that's what we ended up doing. We won a lot of games. We rarely lost. I will say that we rarely lost.
So contrary to popular belief, middle school ball was in fact, but it wasn't the plethora of AAU programs, and there were no other
Nope.
basketball. So when you talk about youth ball, other than playing out around the way, Hampton and Newport News, you weren't on any middle school or youth basketball teams?
I was. It started for me at the Citizen Boys Club, Checkatown Road. That's when I moved down to the other end of Shell Road. I was staying on Lagarde Drive, Chapel Avenue, and stuff like that. Powhatan Parkway area. And so Boys Club right down the street, walking distance, which was something that I don't see in this era. We don't have a lot of community centers for the young kids to go and play and do different activities. You know, I met Mr. Harrison, you know, rest his soul, he passed years ago. With Miss O'Keefe is, you know, one of the people that really gave me an opportunity, like, you know what, your little butt gonna stop getting in trouble and do what you're supposed to be doing out here, you know, at school or in the gym or wherever I was. And so that's where it started for me. You know, I had one of my first coaches, I believe, was Coach Linwood. And then was Coach Donald, I forgot Donald's last name, and then Andre Jones and stuff like that. But we were going play in the boys club leagues, playing against the cats out in Phoebus. That's what I can always recall, them Phoebus boys. And, you know, they were tough nose, you know, didn't take anything. Same thing playing rec football, them Phoebus Vandals. You know, that's all I ever wanted to play against. You know, when I got to high school, I said, they'll never beat me again. And that's my confidence. You know, they would never beat me because they had these cats. And I don't know if you know, but there was one guy always, you know, had mad respect for, a guy named Tony Watson.
Yeah.
He had the size of Billy Owens, you know, not necessarily tall, but just the girth and stuff like that. He was smart, had a good IQ. We were young, but I'm giving him accolades like, you know, he wanted great. Nah, but I just respected his game, and he was one of the ones that, you know, had, you know, you had the Andre Ross, you had the McHales. I mean, you name them, and them guys used to always beat our butt at Citizen Boys Club. You know, Mike Williams, you know, one of my biggest favorites, Mike Williams from Shell Road, my big homie. Kevin Talaferro and stuff like that. So we would go and play against them, and we would lose. You know, I'm like, I don't like losing. You know.
Hold on, Jermaine. Hold on. What did you do? Because you were saying that for our viewers right now, because some guys throw chairs, some guys go in their house and isolate themselves. My father used to work with Kevin Swann's mom, and she told my father, Kevin lost, he would lock himself in his room. Not on some nothing crazy, but he would just withdraw just to reflect and get himself right because he hated losing. When you say that, what are you talking about? You just laying everybody out verbally, you shutting down. What we talking?
I didn't have the confidence to lay people out, talk trash to anybody on the team and stuff like that. I would internalize it. I would internalize it because I still was a quiet, shy kid, but I just loved to compete, you know. Back then, you know, because I was tall, they put me at center. But because I was, you know, played on the street, I can handle the ball. So to me, I was like, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we don't lose. And so I'll play the center, I'll play the point guard, I'll play every position. I'll defend the best player. That's what my motivation was. I'm gonna defend the best player, shut him down. And once I shut him down, then we can keep on rolling from there. So I carry that same mindset. Again, because I'm tired of losing. But I'm gonna check the best player, and I started doing that from the time I actually from 8th grade all the way up to college. I always had that mentality. I don't care what neighborhood I went to, I will point you out. I'm about to shut you down. I lie to you not. I lie to you not. I lie to you not. That was my mentality.
That's crazy that you took that much pride in defense. That is crazy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, that was the 90s. You know, and of course, everyone knows the 80s, those time periods, defense, there was more pride in that. You know, now, you know, if somebody can play D, it's almost a shock. But at the same time, that's crazy that even in a recreational or street ball or even, you know, an organized AAU ball, you were like, yo, I'm taking pride in locking this guy down. You know, did you, you know, because I'm from the same streets as you, same community, same neighborhoods. I know how the 7-5 can be, especially on our side. When you used to lock people down or give them work quietly because you're not a trash talker, did it ever get to the point where almost, you know, you had to get physical or there were confrontations?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I had two players in high school that you know, because our team was so good, they would really do little dirty plays. I would say the names. I didn't trip. I told him on the court, a guy named Mario Haskell.
Mario Haskell, yeah.
He was dirty as I don't know what, man. He was dirty, man. But, I respected his game. He was dirty in high school. He was dirty in college. He was a dirty player. But he played hard, but he only played dirty when you was getting the best of him. And we would beat them jokers about 30-some points, man. And, I would go around him and he would, Russian Sickle. You remember Russian Sickle, the Russian move?
Yeah, I remember.
I was so pissed off with him, man. I got in his face. And I just remember back in the days when we had a big old brawl prior to my that year I was playing, when we had a big old brawl, Rick Hunter and stuff like this, the work players. And he did the exact same thing to start a little brawl. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. I'm like, but that's what, but that's what he was doing. And the other guy was Thomas Bailey. Thomas Bailey was a tough son of a gun. But again, he played a little dirty tactics and stuff like that when you start winning. And he's going to try to do something you're off guard. And if you back down, he's got the best of you. Both of those players, And to me, I took pride based on where I'm from. Like I said, I'm from the Peninsula District. And so for me, then I go to Shell Road, you gotta be tough, not necessarily always ready to fight and stuff like that. You just gotta be tough, defend yourself. And so that was one of the things I took pride in. I just, I defended myself. I didn't let anybody else try to take advantage of my homeboys and stuff like that. And to me, that's what I stood on, them principles right there. I'm not gonna back down on you. And my boys and I, Mario, Colin, David, we would punish cats, with no problem, so that was our mentality.
I love it, man. This is one of the things I love about these legacy spotlights. No matter what locality or jurisdiction or neighborhood or state you played in, when it gets down to it, the journey, the grind, the toughness, the mental toughness, because what you're not only describing is physical toughness, but mental toughness.
Oh yeah.
But Jermaine, I want to ask you this before we dive more into the high school matchups and high school ball and those great Hampton High teams. One quick question regarding, as your journey is beginning, as you talk about, going to Phoebus and battling them and Mario Haskell and all those battles. We didn't have direct TV and satellite TV and live streaming. We didn't have YouTube and Ball is Life and all these different great things these kids got now. So
Legacy Spotlight?
Yeah. We didn't have I appreciate that. So who did you check for when you were watching NBC, or because we only had like a handful of channels? Cable came out, but even then it wasn't like you had the NBA package. Was it high school? Like, was there guys in high school what model your game after? Or was there a college point guard or even an NBA player you were checking for no matter what? And you're like, yo, I want to watch him tonight, or I want to go over here and see him. Or yo, let me stay real quick. I want to see. Who was that guy? Or were there a couple of guys?
I'm going to say I cheated. And why I'm saying I cheated is because, at my house, we really didn't watch sports. Not that, while we couldn't, but we just didn't watch sports. So I would go to my friends' houses. And, one of my friends, when I moved down one end of Shell Road, Mike Williams, his father was a LA Lakers guru. And so I'm listening to him, listening to his buddies, and listening to Mike, listening to Dave, the brother, and stuff like that. And I'm like really keying in because I'm hearing a different way of looking at basketball. He's talking about the Magic, he's talking about Cooper. He's talking about all these great players, and I want to be great one day. And so I would always go to his house on the Sundays and stuff like that and watch the games. And I'll also watch Len Bias. He was my favorite player growing up. 34, that was my number in rec ball, 34. J.R. Reed, 34 is my number. Both of them played like small forward, power forward, and stuff like that. And for me, that's what I was playing in rec ball, like, the power forward, small forward, power forward or the center, whatever it was. And so, again, giving Mr. Williams his credit, because he gave me a different channel to look at when I was playing basketball. And you had to be smart. And so me having the physical toughness, the mental toughness, and then the IQ to understand what basketball, the type of moves and stuff like that you get around. And because, I stayed in the street, I do little mischievous things just to make sure I can get around, And so having his mindset in my mind, when I look forward to that and I start learning more about basketball. And because sometimes your coaches don't always tell you everything. You know what I'm saying? You got to find a way. And I found my way. But Len Bias was one of my, I want to say my model I looked after. And then I heard that one tragic day that he ended up passing. And it was on WRAP. I will never forget that. And my uncle was over my house. And I came into the house and I cried like a baby. Like I knew the guy. He was like, "What's wrong with you, boy?" I was like, "You ain't heard Len Bias died."
Wow.
He was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "I loved his game. He got drafted and all this other stuff and going to the Boston Celtics, man, I was hurt." But to me, he was, and I wasn't a Jordan fan, I like Len Bias. That was my man, Len Bias was tough, I didn't know he was from Maryland area. I just knew he was a great basketball player.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I looked at it. It's like the different things he was able to do. He can jump, he can run.
Yep.
He was fast, he was athletic, and he would dunk on you. That's something I couldn't do at the time, because I was young, but that was one of the guys I looked up to, before I started looking at the other guys. I'm gonna give you something. When I was in middle school, there was two guards that was out in Newport News, where I'm from. I probably would have went to Ferguson. I still stayed in the area. It was Rodney Shields and Steve Artis. I don't know if you heard of them two small cats. Oh my goodness, boy! You talking about dominating? So when the time I got to high school, and I'm freshman, I'm saying, hey, we about to play against my two cats that I used to love watching. Man, I wanted to play against so bad just to see where I ranked.
Yeah.
Man, I ain't even get in the game, man. I was hurt. But hey, that was just my pride, saying I was a freshman at the time. Kevin Swann and them were holding it down, Paul Blackman and all them, Cedric Williams. And so, but I was just one of those pit bulls on the bench as a ninth grader playing on varsity. I was happy to be on the team, but I was pissed when I didn't play. That's two different things that a lot of these kids don't have. They just want to wear the uniform and stuff like. No, I wanted to compete. For me being on the bench, I'm like, no, I can handle this. Give me an opportunity. So that was my mentality. I wasn't, I didn't go back home and tell my mom and them was like, hey, he ain't playing me like a lot of these kids do. And the parents get involved. My parents never got involved. Never got involved. They said, this is what you want to do. You go and compete.
Yeah,
earn your time.
You talk about your parents. As you're going through this, and we get ready to tap into Hampton in 1 second, but I want to ask you this. Did your parents at any point, because college was still new around that time, a lot of times people like me and you were the first in our families to go to college, and as far as in the history of our families. But my mom and dad, when I got to high school, of course, Coach Mike Smith was like, hey, his size, his speed, his athleticism, he's gonna get some looks and start, let us start coming my sophomore year. But my parents had no idea because neither one of them were athletes. How was it for you, your parents? They knew you were, playing, but did they have any moment thinking, hey, we can, this guy's got a chance. Our son is special. Is in anything like that?
Nope. Nope. They just wanted their baby boy to make sure, one, I didn't get in any kind of trouble, and two, I didn't fail. In no classes. That was the mindset they both of them gave me. And, I made sure I was home before the street lights came on. Those three things right there were my mindset, So, when I got to a point and when I was in 8th grade, I did really good after my very first game in junior varsity. My first game, we played against Ferguson High School JV team. And all of them guys that I played against in Ferguson, they whooped my tail, man. Coach Blizz told me, boy, if you ever play like that again, I was turning the ball over left and right, man.
Really?
I was so nervous. Oh, I was nervous as I don't know what, man, playing against them boys, man. I'm like, most of them are friends and stuff like that, But again, my mindset at one point was like confidence out of this world. But then when I played against my old friends and stuff, I was like, oh my goodness, they were killing me, man. And Coach Blizz told me, you ever play like that again, you'll never play again for me, boy. And after that right there, me and my boys, Mario got him. It was like, yo, J-Man, what you doing? And next thing you know, I was like, man, I snapped out of it. Vic, I lie to you not. And that was a different ball game for my JV team in the Mason and I. We beat everybody else after that. No more issues. And, that's when the confidence really came. But my mom and dad, they supported me, but they didn't know that I had the aspirations of really going higher than high school basketball because they didn't play sports. And, their mindset was, to put a roof over our head, clothes, shelter, and stuff like that, and food and stuff. That was their mindset, because their parents didn't go to college and stuff like that. So for me, it was just on the back burner going to college, but I wouldn't change a bit up, based on the experience they gave me because they gave me discipline early on.
Now you mentioned Hampton, and let's elaborate on that Hampton High career a little bit more in detail. You're there. You mentioned JV and varsity. You get to Hampton High. You mentioned, and everyone would agree with this. And you definitely are right there. But Kevin Swann is a god. Like you're talking about. You get to Hampton, and there's a legacy already been started for you. So what happened? Obviously, you get there. You know about Hampton High and Coach Brower and his staff and Coach Blizzard, Coach Art Jones.
Art Jones.
Yeah, and he's one of the best of all time. Like many say, he is the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do those debates, but I just like to pay respect. When you get there, what are you thinking? I mean, because you talked about that game, you were nervous and turned the ball over. But and before you answer that question, Jermaine, what I'm talking is like, going to Hampton High myself and knowing about the football legacy, James Wilson, Ronnie Riddick, and Eric Hunter, and all the greats that were there. I was actually trying to slide, just kind of like not avoid it, but I was just nervous. I was scared. I was excited, but it was like one of those things with Alonzo Cherry and all those guys. They were men to me. It was guys that were men. They were Greek gods. So I was just happy to be part of the program. I didn't have any expectations, but some people did. Some people, I'm going to go in here and start. I'm going to take his spot. Everyone's level of confidence at different stages in his life is different. For you, where was your level of confidence and what was your expectations when you got to Hampton High?
My expectation was to play. I'm going to go back and tell you, my big brother's good friend, Mike Williams, he instilled the confidence in me first tryout, Go and do your thing, boy. You can play at this next level. And for me, again, a childhood friend, he's I want to say maybe a junior. He's a junior high school. He's on the varsity team, I believe, I think I recall. And so when he was telling me, because we played in Citizen Boys Club together. So we played football together at King Street Cowboys. So for him to be a part of that circuit for me, and it's still, hey, he knows I'm the freshman on the team or trying to get on the team, trying to make the team. And he just keep on pushing me like, yo, you can do it. And so, I looked like a Kevin Swann. I was skinny, little peanut head, skinny little legs. And Mr. and Mrs. Swann took me under their wing like, I was their little son. And so Kevin did the same thing. All of them did the same thing, But again, there's always some competitiveness in practice. And I would say Paul Blackman would, try to do his thing against me. Cedric Williams do the same thing. Ganon. I just had to show them that I wanted to play and I wanted to compete. Not only to get on the court, but I wanted to make them better. Because
Jermaine, you said that, just practice Ganon Baker and Paul Blackman. Just for our viewers and listeners, we we talking about size you up, try you? Is there intensity? Is there just talk about when you trying you and pushing you. Just elaborate on that a little bit more.
I would say an elbow here, a clip up, poke you in your belly, just a little different tactics. You know what I'm saying? They would grab your jerseys, because again, I'm about $150. Grab my jerseys, hold me on the screen or something like that. Set me up to go around the screen around Rick Hunter, Lonnie Mann, you name it. What was it? Aaron Monday, Mark Ash. I mean, you name it. Those practices were competitive as I don't know what. We had the size, we had the guard skill set, we had the size on the post. I wouldn't change that for the world, man. The only thing I missed about those days is I wish I would have had some of those guys with me in college. Because I knew they knew how to play. Not knocking anything from my teammates, but in high school, that was the most consistent team that I played with. I was with them each year all the way up. And that to me is one of the biggest things that you can do when it's time to start winning games. Because you got the chemistry, you were the same team for 3 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but Kevin Swann would, he would punish me in practice. He's the same he's supposed to. I expect that to happen. But I didn't back down. That was one thing. And so, after some practice, he would, take me on his wing and show me different things. I wasn't a shooter. He was a shooter. I can score. I can slash. I can defend. And I just brought a different element. So some games I would get in, and I think I did pretty good with, bringing the energy up. And so I kind of, in a way, my team, my JV teammates, Mario, Colin, all of them would start, cheering me on. And that's what I needed. That means my boys are still with me, although they're not on the bench with me, on the court with me. They're still with me.
And you're referring to Mario Gatlin and Glenn
Colin Brown.
Colin Brown, yeah, two outstanding football and basketball players, dual athletes. Yep.
Well,
yeah,
they were my guys, man. We used to, after we started I ain't even talking about the King Street. That's when they had the full court. Yeah, that was a real full court.
Yes.
And so to me, like I said, for my backyard being a full court, that was small. That was like only a half court game, but it was really a full court in my backyard. But when I moved to the other end of Shell Road, when we had King Street, that was a full court. I mean, like regulation full court on the cement. If you fall, your knees all bloodied up, your hands all messed up, stuff like that. So to me, when I went to Hampton, I'm like, oh man, I can do this with no problem. But again, I just had to earn my stripes. The big guys at King Street, man. Gary Jones. I don't even know a lot of the older guys what high school they played at. Where they're from. They was always come to King Street after work and stuff like that. And Delano, Art Jones, you name it. The list will go on, man. Actually, even Allen Iverson, Bubba Chuck, as I know him, his father used to come and play on our court.
Wow.
So I mean, there was so many guys that would come and everybody would compete. And so me and my boys always wanted to get on the main court and play, and they would never let us because we was young. So what I would do, I would call next. And if I didn't get next with me and my boys, I would get the ball and kick that joint over the street.
You was one of them kids.
Oh yeah. Y'all gonna let us play. Mario, Jay, he taking it on. His uncle Sleepy Lynch, all of them boys, man. That's what I would do in order to get on the main court. Because you all gonna respect our game. We can play, not just me, but we all can play. We had Cripple Tooth, Dwayne. I forgot his last name.
I forgot about Cripple Tooth.
Come on, man. I mean, we just had Kevin Robinson. It was me, Mario. We would always ask somebody else, but that's what we used to do, man. You're gonna respect our energy level to play and compete. Regardless of y'all gonna beat us or not, we gonna get y'all one day. And eventually we start getting them.
I almost wish they did a documentary on that Shell Road, King Street, Hampton sports era. Maybe that's something for Vicktory Life to think about. Because I'm just the names you mentioning right now. Let me tell you, I grew up on Vaughn Avenue, right beside Greenbrier, off Shell Road, and we would go there, man. Me, Milo, Walt Ford. We were young. We were little kids. We were a few years older, and we would just ride our bikes around, and look. And even though everybody was out there competing, having fun, being young men, kids, I almost felt like I was watching future stars or NBA stars on a local level. I mean, the trash talk, the dunks, the steals. We didn't call them crossovers like now the handle and all that other stuff. Jellies. It was just it's crazy because in a lot of ways, Jermaine, I posted on Facebook one time, jokingly, not taking shots at the young kids, but I was like, I didn't have a trainer. My trainer was Shell Road, Park Place, Fort Eustis, Phoebus. Yeah. And I'm hearing you talk, and I've heard other guys on, and I've even watched other shows. I just feel like this is true. Like that King Street, those competitions in your backyard, the guys you naming, that prepared you for Broward and Blizzard coaching you, and Art Jones, and also competing against Rick Hunter, competing with Pete Bacote. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah. And actually, there was some rumors that based on the Shell Road boys don't go over Park Place and play no ball. And to me, I'm hard-headed, I'm gonna go and see why we can't go over there and play. This is a court, this is an open court. Let me go here and get my stripes up. And them boys over there, they were straight up tough.
Tough.
And so I went over there and played. That's how I met Alex Brown and what was it, Marlon McKnight and all.
The McKnight
That's
brothers.
how I met all them.
The
Yeah, so
McKnight
that's how I'm
brothers.
like, man, I'm gonna go over there. The Troy Matthews. I ain't scared of y'all, man. I'm gonna go and play some ball. That's what I'm doing.
Woo, listen, I'm so glad everybody listening and watching this. The Park Place versus Shell Road battles were epic. You talk about my quarterback, my best friend Eric Brown, his older brother Fred Brown, Alex Brown. The McKnight brothers, I played with them on the Aberdeen Raiders. And we used to, me and Walt Ford and all of us, Carlos Ford, all of us would walk across the tracks and go play football and basketball with them. And what I remember, Jermaine, it won't just the Park Place residents, the kids our age or the young men. It was guys there 34 years old.
Yeah.
And boots. And you know what I'm saying? Playing with sneakers with no shoestrings.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
You better come correct. And that's how I earned my respect over there. So I had no issue because I didn't back down. Me and my boys, we didn't back down. We was like, let's go and play. We win. We might have some, bloody lip or something like that. But at the end of the day, we didn't back down. And so we took that same mentality and we rolled up to Phoebus and played out Fulton Street. We made the same thing. What's the neighborhood off of Mercury by the old Kmart, which is
Riverdale.
Oh yeah, we used to ride up. That's what I'm saying. From Shell Road to where we were going way out there. That's what we were going to play.
That's what I love. That's why I was the golden era. But go continue.
Oh yeah. Nowadays, our kids ain't going that far. You know why? Because the parents won't allow them to go that far. Somebody happened to my baby.
Talk about it. No,
I'm like, come on, man.
Hey, listen, I remember in Hampton High, man, like around period 3 or period 4, you heard some guys over near not Fox Hill, but Rip Rap on the Kickintan, Phoebus side. They talking. And we would get rides. We would catch rides, pile up in cars to go compete against neighborhoods, just like you mentioned. And you're right, my nephew, my sister lived down there. It's still some dogs down there, but at the same time, that sense of urgency, that passion, that drive to, oh, y'all think y'all the best? We're gonna come try y'all. Cause we want all the smoke. And you would get your 5 or get your 6 in case somebody had to dip early. And you would go find the competition. Parkwood, East End Newport News, Woodsong. It didn't matter.
Jeff Davis, you name it.
That was also a mecca. Jeff Davis.
Eaton, you name it,
Bruh, so Jermaine, when you are at Hampton those years, let's talk about those teams. The state championship team, you guys, let's go down memory lane. You beat Grant Hill twice in the States. 6A Grant Hill and those South Lake teams were epic, just like those Hampton High teams. The golden era of Peninsula District basketball, as I mentioned in your lead up on this interview and publicizing it and marketing it, you were one of the first players on 4 years. You and I want you to name your teammates, some of your teammates. You were on a team that led Hampton High to be the first Peninsula District basketball team in 4 years straight with 20 or more wins. It had never been done. That is amazing. Talk about the Hampton High basketball stories, legacies, the battles. In football, we say the Friday night lights. Basketball, y'all can play up to 3 times a week. But just talked about the practices with Rick Hunter and all those guys and Ganon. But talk about the matchups and the battles and the districts and the regionals and some of the guys you played with and you bumped against.
Man, you list a whole lot of things in one sentence, man.
I know
that's a lot.
I know you're going because I know one can't come without the other.
Yeah. Well, for me, my big brothers, Baruch Harris and John Scott, they kind of paved the way for me from, again, being on the boys club. And so when I used to go and watch them, was I was 8th grade, watching them play against some of the toughest competition in the area, even Lonzo Moore and stuff like that. They already set the precedence, early on for me. And so by the time I got to high school and I ended up seeing, all these great players and stuff like that. So by the time I became a sophomore in high school, and we ended up playing against, Grant Hill. Well, we won the state championship the first year. Second year, we ended up playing against them again. And I had the honors of guarding this guy, averaging 30-something points a game, about 12 rebounds a game. And coach like, hey, this is where you get your stripes at, young fella. Go ahead and handle it. I ain't got Rick Hunter. I just got Aaron Monday, was it Lonnie Mann and Mark Ash and David Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to guard him on the wing. They guard him on the post. And so for me, I'm like, man, you know, I said, but this dude about to go to Duke. I said, you know what? I don't care if I do whatever, as long as I start getting some coaches to look at me because I'm guarding this guy and I'm not backing down.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I did to Grant Hill? I was picking his butt with no problem. He was scared to drive certain things again. What I say, I'm going to compete. I'm going to guard the best person to make sure, you know, we have a chance at winning. Then the next game we played against another guy. Before then we played against a guy named Kendrick Warren. Kendrick Warren. We played him first, and, you know, same thing. I had to guard him 6'8", both All-Americans. We ain't got no All-Americans on our basketball team. Ganon Baker, you know, Aaron Monday, they were All-Americans in basketball, but Aaron was good in football, All-American and whatnot. You know, but, you know, we ain't had that, you know. And so I just took it upon myself, was like, you know what, I'm going to do my best to guard this guy and to help my teammates win. And sure enough, we went and we ended up losing the Bayside, man. That was a tough battle right there. Ooh, I was hurt, man.
I remember that.
But that was a great game as well, man. Took my hats off to them. I still talk to Mario to this day. Mario Mullins and, you know, the big Ronell Williams, you know, both from Bayside. You know, so, you know, I ended up sending one of our old games, state championship games, and it was like, yo, where did you find this? And so, you know, to me, I'm like, hey, that was a classic. Regardless of us winning or losing, you know, at the end of the day, we still friends. But we competed hard against each other back in the days, you know. To me, that was, you know, that was one of the greatest moments I can say I had in high school, you know, playing against some great guys that we all become very good, you know, individuals outside of basketball once our football careers were over.
No doubt. And, you know, Jermaine, you gave energy. It's crazy how the cycle of competition and legacies are being watched by the guys behind us. So for me, I mentioned, you know, Dwayne Thomas, Moose, and Alonzo Cherry, and Mario Gatlin, and Reggie Pittman, all my guys I looked up to, the Rick Hunters, all of them, so many guys. And then after I left, when me and Lloyd Tucker and all of us left Tyrone Tynes, the guys behind us, you know, when me and Myron Newsom left to go to Virginia Tech, the Ronald Currys and the Ahmad Hawkins watched us. You know, so it's crazy how you talk about those battles with Grant Hill, because I remember, you know, you picking his pocket. I remember you guys, you know, in the battles with Bayside. And when I talk about the legacies that you left, not just at Hampton, when I marketed this interview, this Legacy Spotlight, Marseille Brown commented, you know, and you talk about him and the Brett Harpers and, you know, the Anthony Cadbarbers, the Allen Iversons, the Tony Rutlands, especially the Iversons, Tony Rutlands, and the Marseilles and Bretts, because they came right after you. Did you know about those guys? Did you see the same thing in them? I know everybody knew about Chuck Iverson, but at the same time, Tony Rutland, one of the best to ever do it. And, you know, Marseille Brown, you know, I mean, Brett Harper, I mean, when you're on the way out, did you look behind and say, oh, yeah, the game is definitely going to be in good hands in the PD?
I'm gonna tell you this. I love basketball and I love watching skill set. I was telling my teammates, my younger teammates, when I get ready to leave, you better watch out for this boy, Brett Harper and Marseille Brown. I wasn't talking about Chuck and Tony, no disrespect, but I'm telling them about some cats that people sleep on. Not because you know, and that's what my mindset was. I was a sleeper. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's what I used to love watching cats that are sleepers, that people sleep on. But the boy could play with the best of them, man. You know, he would dunk at an early age, and, you know, Marseille used to tease me and stuff like that. You know, but I used to watch his big brother, you know, Milan. And so, but when I used to watch them play at the little AU basketball with under Boo Williams and stuff like that, and I used to like, yo, them little boys right there, tough as I don't know what, you know. And Brett reminded me of myself. You know, to me, you know, Marseille was the one that can handle the ball, and I always wanted to handle the ball. Although people say point guard, I wasn't no point guard, man. I wasn't no point guard.
Really?
I want no point guard. No, I can play it. You know, I can play it. You know, I'm not gonna get picked too much, and I can orchestrate the team and stuff like that. But a point guard to me is one that really, well, man, I could say I was a tad bit of point guard. But I was smart with the basketball. You know what I'm saying? I knew where to go, try to navigate, and who I needed to pass to certain times of the game and stuff like that. But I knew my personnel. I knew certain cats I wouldn't give it to at the end of the game. I knew certain cats who I would give it to at the end of the game. That to me, that's the point guard mentality wise. But I was a wing player. That was my true calling right there. But because I can handle the ball and I was tall, coaches wanted to put me at the point guard position, which I didn't back down, because if one of our point guards wasn't doing so well, that's when he would slide me in there. You know what I'm saying? And so I can alternate, because again, I wanted to compete. I wasn't just one player. I just didn't want to be a point guard. I wanted to be a basketball player. You put me on whatever position, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do my best at that position.
Jermaine, you talk about how you were. To me, it sounds like you're saying you were a combo guard or you were a basketball player, which I could definitely respect. I know about the game winners, and I've seen you lock people down. I've seen the footage of you guys and picking Grant Hill and locking other guys down. But I remember a play, and I hope I can find it for this Legacy Spotlight. But I was in 10th grade, and y'all were playing Phoebus, and you drove in the lane and did a 360 layup. You missed it. But you missed it. You did a 360. I remember, and I was sitting, it was at Hampton. We were playing at home. And I remember me and everyone, because back then the gym would be packed. If you got up, your feet was gone. And everybody going crazy. You missed it. And you tapped the glass. Your game was so smooth. I remember going home. That's when we had Channel 5. Now it's Channel 48, Hampton City Schools, where they replay the games. And I watched it and I recorded it on my VHS tape.
Wow.
And I watched it, true story. And I used to rewind it. And my homies Milo and all of them used to be like, why you keep watching? So y'all don't understand, man, this guy is special. And it's crazy, because I looked at you and Sean Hamlin and guys like that, man. And that 360 layup, man, you had a feel for the game. I don't know what it was. Some guys have it, some guys don't. Not just the basketball IQ, but you knew when to get somebody, as they say, tween, lay up, whatever. And you knew when to back it out and say, hey, come over here. And then you know when to be aggressive and go for a run on yourself, 8-0 run by yourself.
It was instincts.
When you had that game, 360 layup and the other stuff you've done throughout your high school career, was there one game, and I know this is a tough question, during your time, JV, varsity, whatever, was there a game when you look back, when you talk to your players that you coach, when you used to actively coach, hey, this night I was in my bag? Is there a game that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it was a lot of games, but I would say the game that I played against Ward at Ward. Blessed his soul, Coach Ben Moore. They just had a special on him yesterday.
Court dedication. Yeah,
Coach Ben Moore. My uncles actually played for him back in the days, and my grandmother stayed in the area where all the, Ward, it was on the Ward players. And so I would see the Mario and stuff like that back in the days, and Derek Stokes and all them. And that's where the Heritage High School is now. That's where my grandmother stayed. And so, to me, it was just a great time to even play against those type of players. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't really know what to say, man. You got me. I'm trying to remember so many different things. I'm like, man.
That's fine. You answered the question.
Yeah,
it
was Ward. We played Ward at Ward, and my first half, I probably hit maybe about 17 points. You know what I'm saying? I done dunked the ball. And I'm not normally a dunker. I'm a George Gervin type of finger roll type of play. You know what I'm saying? I get up and I get so. But that's just because my coordination really started developing. A lot of people didn't know I didn't have really good coordination, in 9th grade. It started developing once I ended up playing tennis at Hampton. Coach Mann told me, hey, man, he was a sick football coach, He was like, hey, tennis, man, you might need to play tennis, man, to get your footwork together. So I ain't playing no tennis, man, And he was like, I'm trying to tell you. And so I ended up playing with Donnie Cobb and all of them, the Cobb brothers, Rex and all them. And so I really realized that, up and back, the side to side lateral movement really helped my footwork and my speed. That's why I said I wasn't fast. But playing tennis helped me. And I never competed in a match, but because I only did it for practice purposes, it really helped my game, my coordination develop. And so I used to always tell, even younger kids, hey, man, play tennis, play soccer, because it works on your different mechanics and movement on the basketball court or football court. They're all interchangeable. But man, we punished Warwick. Go back to that. We punished Warwick at their house by maybe about 40-some points, man. And I lie to you not, man. Coach Ben Moore was so pissed off, and that was the same game Mario tried to, put me over the neck and stuff like that. But me, Dave, Mario coming to the game, busting chops, he talking trash, and I said, I used to always get on him about, chill out with the talking trash, man. But that was him,
That's
he
Mario.
That's Mario.
Shout out to Mario Gatlin, one of the best players I have seen.
And so, that was my brother back in the days, man. But I would love to compete with him no matter where we go, because I know he got my back and I got his back. And he was a sound player, that off the glass, soft touch, we weren't into the 3-point shot back in the days. We were mid-range type players, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He would come in off that bench and be an instant 6-man. And, hey, that was one of my best games, playing against Warwick at Warwick. But for me, I wasn't about scoring. I was about winning. I didn't care if at that year I was a senior. I didn't care about the leading scorer. I wanted to win. And so you mentioned something about us being, the 4 years in a row hitting the 20 game mark.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Coach Brown wouldn't tell us certain things. He wouldn't tell us about recruiting people that was coming in to see us. He wouldn't tell us because he didn't want our heads to get big.
No.
And so to me, I'm like, my head not going to get big with somebody coming to check me out. That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. I said, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a chance to select who really wants me. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, my grades weren't good, man. And I didn't get no Fs, but I just wasn't on that level to get to a top D1 school and stuff like that. Which that's about the only thing I was about to say regret. I don't regret it. I'm glad I went to where I went to.
Well, no,
made me a better person.
I know it did, and we've talked about it, but I do want to talk about that. Because obviously you played. I've always said, let me back up. I've always said, because I have the perspective and credibility to say this, it's not so much it's easier in football, but it's harder to get an offer in basketball. Mm-hmm. Like it is. It's just harder. It's more spots in football. It's more schools that offer that program. Some programs don't offer basketball, although many do, universities. You went to Hampton University. Shout out to the home by the sea. My mom was a Hampton University graduate, her bachelor's and her master's. She was there when it was HI, Hampton Institute. Indeed. I actually went to elementary school at Hampton University. I went to the laboratory school.
Wow.
People don't know that. I went to the laboratory school. And then in middle school, I went to Eaton. Even though I grew up on Shell Road, I went to Eaton. Okay.
So but I was privileged all the way around.
Yeah. Well, my mom and dad, they had a plan for me, but I still don't know how. I still have my brothers, but they had a plan. I was at Hampton University, so I grew up in the HBCU culture. My dad is a Norfolk State graduate, was in the band. He's a Q, always running around the house yelling, "Behold the green and gold." Grew up going to the Battle of the Bay, aluminum sandwiches and aluminum foil. You know what I'm saying? So I know about the football and legacies and sports programs, tennis and everything at Hampton University. But let's be honest, Jermaine. I mean, you also were on at that time, and even still now, but that time when there was only 2-3 AAU programs in the entire state, you were on Boo Williams' circuit. You played on his team. You won. You battled against Grant Hill. You locked him down. You played against Iverson and Chuck when they were coming up. You were on the map of other schools. You mentioned your grades not being where they were, so you went to Hampton. But were there some other schools like, man, that we're talking, we're offering? Were there some other options?
Yeah, it was Duquesne, ODU, North Carolina, Wilmington, Virginia Tech, UMass. But when they came to the school to check out my grades and stuff, they was like, "Boy, you ain't doing nothing." And so, unfortunately, I mean, I can't blame nobody but myself, man. But my guidance counselor at the time was telling me, and this is something I don't, you don't tell no kids that you're not good enough, to play at a Division I or academically, it's not good enough for you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the challenge is too hard for you. And so my guidance counselor used to tell me that, and I was like, whatever, man. I ain't really tripped, but one of the things that I really took pride in once I went to college is my academics. See, I didn't take pride in my academics in high school. The reason being because my parents only told me, just don't get no F's. So I did just the bare minimum just to make sure I ain't get no F's. Miss Lemmick would just always get on me. She was the trainer and she was my math teacher.
Diane Limerick.
Miss Hobson would get on me. My health teacher was like, boy, you better get this work done. And so I would do my work in just those 2 classes, not the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Because they took pride in me. So when you take pride in me, I'm going to take pride in myself. And that's the opposite way of looking at it. But that's just the way I looked at it. But when I went to college, it was a different ball game, man. Ain't nobody had to get on me about anything because what I end up seeing, and again, I observe everything. I'm a social worker by trade, substance abuse, mental health counselor by trade. But what I end up doing, I look at the body language. And so I end up seeing all of my teammates one year, the next year, they all gone. And I'm like, why you ain't gone? Oh, academic probation, the first semester, academic kicked off the team the second semester. I'm like, oh, no, this ain't happening to me. I ain't got nothing to go back to. And so that was my mindset from there. So I was all academic, all CIAA. So by that time, I'm good. I ain't got no issues with the grades. I'm 3.0 student by that time. So to me, I took pride in it once I matured and once I went to college, but again, my guidance counselor, I'm not going to, talk bad about it, but that kind of motivated me to really check myself, unfortunately, but again, I ain't gonna talk down on no kids. We're like, yo, you really, really check yourself,
No, I mean, again, I think that goes back to, I don't think I've had so many people on here. Like I said, the Bacotes, Shonda Bailey, Elton Brown that went to UVA for football, All-American. I think that time frame, as much as it was the golden era, there was a lack of awareness. Like people going to college, and you had a different world, that influenced a lot of people to go to colleges. But at the same time, we were just hooping and running track and playing baseball and cheerleading, and there was no. You had the Diane Limericks, you had the Miss Hobsons, as you mentioned, both educators, leaders, really cared about kids, and you had some good teachers. I'm not blaming them. What I'm talking about is from a village, from a cultural standpoint, it was still brand new. It wasn't like now where, people are like, yo, I'm 11 years old and I'm ranked 21st in this prep. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't think it was just you. I mean, a lot of people, but Chip Laws was on, he was talking about God's plan and how it ended up being the best thing for him. When he had his shortcomings or fell short and he got to a different destination that was the best place for him. You mentioned Hampton University and how you don't regret it. Because I followed your career there. Obviously, I mentioned my legacy and connections to Hampton University. Just talk about your great times there, your teammates. Same thing with Hampton. Now you at Hampton University. How was it?
My first year at Hampton, actually, the reason I wanted to go to Hampton is because, I had an opportunity to play with some 7-footer named Marvin Childs. And this guy was over from, I believe it was Portsmouth, Norfolk, or something like that. And the guy named Wink Gregory from DC.
Yep.
And so I said, if I can transition myself to go play with these cats, I never played with a 7-footer. I played with some 6'8", And so if I align myself to go and play with a cat like that, that's about to go to the league, being coached by, legendary Hall of Fame Bobby Dandridge and the head coach Zeke Avery, I said, man, I'm going to have a chance to really do something over here. They had just won the CIAA championship maybe the year before, a couple years before I even going there. And so all of them were my big brothers. I'd go over there on campus all the time and play with them, just to shoot the stuff, with them. And so I ended up going to play. And Marvin Childs, that first year I didn't play because I had transferred from junior college down there where Stackhouse from. Had an opportunity to play against him, from Kinston, North Carolina. I played against him. and he was one of the toughest guys in the area. You know, he's what's the All-American McDonald's shirts?
Yeah, the McDonald's All-American shirt. Yeah.
Man, me and David went to go and play at their basketball court. And I'm like, who is this cat with this big all these numbers on his shirt? And so, you know, everybody in North Carolina know who he is, but me and David, the only cats from Virginia, was like, that's who? He said, Jerry Stackhouse? I don't know no Jerry Stackhouse. Man, next thing you know, man, he's a younger boy. I go and punish this boy every single play.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, man, whatever, man. Next thing you know, this young cat started being one of my favorites down there, man. He was a cool cat. And then they ended up going to play with Chuck on the same team. I was like, ain't this something crazy here? You know, but he was a great player. But when I was at Hampton, man, you know, I didn't play with the guy, Marvin Childs, unfortunately. He ended up transferring out.
He did,
but right. I played with a guy named Derek Boyd, bless his soul. He ended up passing overseas after his last year. He was one of the, you know, 6'8" All-American from Maryland area. And he straight played, man. You know, my other teammate, best friend to this day, Jafonde Williams, you know, from Richmond, All-American as well. He led the nation in scoring. I led the nation in steals, you know, our junior years. And so, and then the other point guard, Michael James from Maryland as well. So, you know, I had some great players, you know, to play around, but we just couldn't get that chemistry right because we wasn't there long enough with each other. You know what I'm saying? I only played with my teammate Jafonde Williams from Richmond all 3 years at Hampton. Everybody else I played with 1 year, so the chemistry really wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? But we were a decent team to play. But then we ended up going to compete in the MEAC. You know, my senior year, we had a different coach and stuff like that. That really wasn't a good time for me at the, you know, transition to the MEAC time. It wasn't more so the competition set. It was more so, you know, I really enjoyed the CIAA. I enjoyed what the HBCU brought me. You know what I'm saying? Not to take away from, you know, other schools and stuff, but I really kind of messed my whole mindset up. You know, this is the coach who I wanted to play with. You know, then you bring another coach in, a different mindset. My mindset wasn't, I would dunk on somebody and I'm the hoorah. That's not me. You know, I'm the same monotone the entire time. I don't talk trash. You know, and so the new coach wanted me to, you know, be one of them hype men. I'm not a hype man. I've never been a Flavor Flav, nothing like that. You know?
Really? Wait, hold on. This is why I love these legacy spotlights. So when the new coach came in, I'm not looking for a hot take, just more so when he came in, he wanted you to step outside yourself and be that guy.
Oh, yeah.
But was there a power struggle when you didn't do that? When you say, yo, that ain't me. Like, did you guys go at it? Like, was there punishment?
Oh, we went at it.
It affects your playing time?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But I didn't care. I didn't care at the time because I already graduated, man. You know, I was like, man, you're not going to hold me accountable for some nonsense that's in your mindset. And I would tell the younger players, you know, a guy named Torrey Farrington, Thomas Rogers, stuff like that, Marcus Jenkins, and all them cats, man, get your grades, man. At the end of the day, they're not going to remove your scholarship if your grades are on point. And so, again, based on, you know, again, I observe everything. So I'm watching. I'm a more mature player than some of the younger guys that's coming in. Just get your grades. You know, your time will come and stuff like that. But, you know, some games he wouldn't start me. Some games he would start me. But I didn't care. As soon as he called my name, I'm going to go out there and compete to the best of my ability regardless. Because, one, I'm all, like I said, I just graduated, you know, in that, December time frame. You know, I'm just playing, you know. But in this crazy story that, you know, we had a tumultuous relationship when I was playing. And it's crazy that Ganon Baker, my teammate in high school, was my assistant coach. Did you know that?
I remember. Again, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, he was my coach. He came with the coach because they met each other, I believe, in North Carolina, Wilmington at the time or something like that. And so Ganon would always get in my head like, come on, man, you know, you can do it and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Keep playing. So, you know, I had him in my ear. But the whole time, I can tell when somebody really is not feeling my energy level and stuff. Because, again, I'm still a laid-back, quiet person. Now, if you get in my comfort zone, I'm going to come out of the comfort zone. I ain't going to be disrespectful, but don't be disrespectful to me. And so next thing I know, there was a situation in practice. And he and I had some verbal exchange, maybe during the Christmas break time. And I'm like, man, this is not me, man. I don't really get into all the disrespect of my elders and stuff like that. And so I kind of like all lost respect at that point in time. And then we had a team meeting. I called a team meeting and I addressed everything. I was like, hey, I put it down like, no, you're not going to do this to me and all these other young cats that's coming behind. And it kind of stopped from there. And then 20-some years later, guess who I see in the gym where I'm having my daughter being recruited at North Carolina A&T?
Him.
That same head coach. He walks past. I'm not lying. He walks past the bench. He was coaching at FAMU. And he walks past. He looks in the stands, and guess who he sees? Me behind the cheerleaders with my family. I go downstairs to, greet him, and he gives me a hug and embraces me and tells me he apologized for the situation that he ended up, causing me my senior year. And I told him, I said, you know what? I heard that you changed after that year that you were coaching me. And I appreciated that. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was a learning experience for you and a learning experience for me. So I know more issues and stuff like that, mad love and stuff like that for him. But again, you just never know the impact you have on kids. And what he had on me, I was a more mature, young adult at the time. But imagine that would have happened to me in rec ball and high school and stuff like that, what it can do to a kid. And that's one of the experiences that I always try to give, my players when I was coaching, the greatest experience you can have. And I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to love you and stuff like that. But my most important thing is to empower you. That's the one thing that, inspired me when people empower me. And that means I'm going to do more than, what's expected, So
you mentioned Jermaine. Is this guy? Well, you can say his name. Is this coach? Is he done coaching?
I think he's what was it? He coached Byron Samuels.
Okay.
He might be like some consultant or something like that for some college teams or NBA teams. I don't know. We haven't talked in a minute.
That's fine. I was just curious. Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, he apologized. I didn't even say anything. He apologized to me, so that just shows you that it was on his conscience for quite some time as well.
Absolutely.
And that was our first time we've ever spoken since I graduated in '96. So to me, I'm like, man, and I told my family, right behind me, it was like, I already knew that was the coach he was talking about because I told them, the same thing would happen. And I said, I don't hold any hard feelings against him anymore and stuff like that. I said, but, coaches really got to understand how the impact they can have on even a teacher, that you can have an impact on a young person's life just by, the nonsense that you give them. Give them some great energy and you see something different, as a different result. If I had more Miss Hobsons and more Miss Limerick's, Mrs. Scott too. He was my history or English teacher. He was a bad guy. I had the same thing in college. I had Mr. Morant. I mean, there were some great professors that I had. Another professor I had is Mr. He was my graduate school. I went to Howard. I had the best of both worlds, Hampton and Howard. I went to Howard for graduate school. I forgot his name, man, but he ended up passing years ago.
Oh.
But I've had some amazing people in my life to help me along this journey, man, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And
that's the beauty of life, the journey. Once you start to embrace the struggles as well as the successes, it gives you perspective, it gives you insight, it gives you wisdom. Mm-hmm. You took that wisdom after your playing career ended, and you became a coach yourself.
Yeah.
For quite some time, it had some great runs, man. But if I'm not mistaken, this is your Legacy Spotlight, so correct me if I'm wrong. You coached girls.
I did.
Yeah. I did. So again, Jermaine always going in his own way. There's some men, I keep it real on these Legacy Spotlights. There's some men who are like, I ain't coaching girls. Yeah. You know them. I know them. I'm not talking about anybody personally. I'm just saying we know of them. Yeah. You went that route, man, and you were a very good coach. Talk about that period in your life.
It was by default, man. I was coaching my son in rec ball, and I had a little team that I was coaching. First time I coached since I had graduated from from college. With Coach Blizz, he wanted me to coach at Phoebus with him, and I left Hampton and moved to Maryland. Had my family, and my son wanted to play basketball, rec ball, and I wanted to coach him, and so I volunteered to coach. And at the end of the day, my son said I was too hard on him. I was like, huh? And, this is first rec ball. I was just too hard on him. Like, yo, I know your skill set. I know I know your worth. I need you to give your worth because he was young and he left-handed and can really play at that time. And so he fired me. And so my daughter, which is the older one, she was like, Daddy, I want you to coach me. I said, huh? I said, hold on. He fired me. You hired me. And so I started coaching.
Just how old, for everybody, real quick, how old at the time was your son and your daughter when you got fired and hired by your daughter's team?
My son was probably about 5. My daughter was 7.
Wow.
And so she was like, because she was playing rec ball, her first year playing, his first year playing, and the coach, he was showing favoritism to his daughter. And I don't play that game. Hey, you treat everybody the same, regardless. Treat them like all of them your daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And so my daughter was playing. I'm like, yo, all he's doing is surrounding everything around his daughter. Not giving the other girls opportunity. So I told her that, she said, hey, I want you to coach me, and I was like, let's do it. I said, but there are certain things that we cannot do. I said, don't bring that into the house. If whatever I chew you out on the court, don't you bring the house being mad at me later on because I'm your dad in the house, but I'm your coach on the court. And so she agreed, and we had that same relationship for many, many years. And, I coached a lot of girls, and most of my players actually ended up playing college basketball. My last group that I coached, they're actually playing college basketball right now, and to me, that was one of the best times I've had when I was coaching young ladies because, that's it. Guys take girls for granted.
No doubt. No doubt.
And so that was one of my things early on when I said about the Nikki Reeds. The young lady's name was Casey Jones. Stayed there off of Shell Road. Mm-hmm. And so because of those young ladies showed me the way that you all can play just as good as the guys. And I kind of did the same information to all the female players that I was coaching. You know what I'm saying? And so the parents really attracted to me because of what I was giving. I was just giving to my daughter. I gave all of them the same kind of love and all the, the skill set, giving the mindset. And, I started coaching these girls when they were going through their menstrual cycles. You talking about somebody crying every single day, whether it be a hard whistle. Man, I was like, what in the world's going on? I grew up with all boys. We have no menstrual cycles. And so for me to, my younger brothers and stuff like that, it was like, yo, we just had a little fight amongst each other and stuff like that, But dealing with these girls when they came on the menstrual cycle and stuff like that, I was like, yo, I didn't know nothing about that, man. And I was with certain games, man, they would just cry because the ref said something to them or a player hit them. And that was the most challenging thing for me. But by the time we got to 6th grade, it was curtains. It was a different ball game, actually 7th grade. It was a different ball game. They started really gelling, developing themselves. The confidence started picking up. We started winning more games. And we started getting more looks. It was like, then next thing you know, we play against the Boo Williams Richmond team. Oh, man, I'm bringing it back home. Again, I'm ready to compete. We almost beat them. We lost by 2 points. But again, it's just showing you, hey, I gave the girls a great experience. We went to Hampton University, met the Hampton University women's basketball team. And guess who was there at the time? Coach David Six was my high school assistant coach at the time. He was coaching at Hampton University. And I think he had just got the head coach job and ended up winning the MEAC.
Yes,
so I took all my girls over there to meet the team and the coach stuff, get a mad love. And, so one of my actually players was playing against him. She's at Howard now. So she was playing against him, and it just shows you the type of things that can happen if you just keep on putting in the work, man.
Yo, shout out to David Six, Coach Six. He is another guy I want to make sure he's recognized and like yourself, who has done a lot for young men and women over the last 20 plus years. In the classroom, on the streets, in the gym. Great man, funny dude too. Jermaine, your girls, you had them that long, and you coached them. You have some of them playing in college. In the day and age now, man, I want you to give me your version, or is it true or false? In the day and age now, where we are now the OGs, we are now giving our perspective and giving back. You have your father, and I'm a father, and we both coach and we played. Every generation is different, but there is a concept where everyone says on Facebook, Twitter, IG, Snapchat, yeah, these kids are soft, man. They entitled, man. They weak, man. They mentally weak. They couldn't play in that era. We drunk out of water hoses, and they got Models and Dick's Sporting Goods, water bottles and book bags and sponsors. They ranked. They got the internet. All that is true in the regards of it's a different time. They have more resources and more gadgets and electronics. But your perspective on this? Kids are kids, with girls are girls, young. I mean, they all aren't soft. We had soft guys when we played. A lot of them do want to learn. A lot of them do accept you to be pushed. What's your perspective on it as someone that's been a leader and a mentor and a father figure to a lot of players the last several years?
I think one of the things I'm gonna give credit to this family that took me in at a difficult time in my life. Miss Hamlet, Sean Hamlet's mother, and the grandparents. Just the exposure, just the support, the neighborhood support. I think the young people this day actually have lots of exposure, and so to me that's a great thing in itself. But at the same time, the parents need to humble them. It's like, you know what, you ain't earned nothing yet. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's one of the biggest things of being humble. I always say when we used to lose certain games, we got a humble pie.
Yep.
And to me, it was like, that's when your mindset really needs to start changing. That I don't need everybody to be telling me how great I am. I'm not great. I'm pretty good in my area. You know what I'm saying? When you get outside the area, how good are you really? You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what the rankings and all that stuff is, guess what people are going to do because you're ranked? People are aiming at you every single day to try to either hurt you or do something bad to you. And I don't need all that. I just want to go out and play. So to me, I was cool where I was. I didn't care whether I get the player of the year or not. I just wanted to play. I wanted to play with my friends. I wanted to be the low-key guy on the court, off the court and stuff like that. I want to be well respected. And like I said, just having the opportunity and exposure is really good for kids. But sometimes the parents and the I want to say, what is it? The parents and the
trainers,
the supporting, not only the trainers, but the entourage. That's what it is. The entourage.
Oh, their camp.
Hype these kids up for what? Just let them be, man. Let them be. When my kids on the court playing stuff like that, she not getting no playing time. I don't care. I don't care. Guess what? You're getting a free education. A lot of these kids aren't going to the NBA, to the WNBA, overseas and all that stuff. Guess what they're going to be at the end of the day? Regular citizens. What can you do when your mom isn't actually doing anything for you, your dad isn't doing anything for you? They're not going to go to your job and tell your supervisor to give my child more money, So guess what you got to do as an individual? You got to change that mindset yourself. You got to stand up for what you stand up for. And that's how my wife and I actually raise our kids. Like, you know what? We're not going to bail you out. We're not going to enable you. And I think that's what it really comes down to. Regardless of what exposure you get, you got to hold your kids accountable. You got to be there to let them know, hey, I'm not going to babysit you. You're going to learn today. That's what I always say. You're going to learn today.
And we're still learning. And you're right. And we're still learning, even as men. But you're right. I think that is one thing I try to point out when we get into these conversations in my group chats or when I'm at symposiums or even when I do live radio, when they want to talk about, comparatively speaking, the generations, I look at it as, man, one challenge I didn't have, as you said, you didn't have as well, is I didn't have my mom and dad. There was no crew around me or a camp or team. I wasn't branding Dwight Vick. I was just actually trying to get a piece of the pie and make something of myself. And I think these kids sometimes, and not sometimes, in many cases, if it's not a positive, realistic support system, it's a hindrance. And
it is.
What I've seen the trend now in high school, not just for athletes, but high school students, is that rude wake-up call as they approach graduation, when corporate America doesn't care about the fact you didn't take your medication, or that you scored 25 points, or that you're having a headache or a bad day, and that's the rude awakening. I want to just a few more questions, Jermaine, because this has been a lot of fun and also insightful. But I want you to talk, because I know when you do all that you've done, you mentoring, community service, leadership, coaching, you can't do it without the support of your family. You dedicated your life to your family, especially coaching your daughter and kids because you're investing not only in your family, but also other people's kids and families. And a lot of times missing out on certain things. I know this. Other people that mentor and lead and coach know this as well. But, you know, just the importance of your family, your wife and your kids and what they mean to you and how they keep you getting through this daily struggle as a Black man. And it's not a struggle in a bad way. It's just that even when things are going great, we have to be mindful of the challenges we face in the community. Without having a family, I know for me, it would be hard to stand sometimes. You have that same blessing. So talk about really, you know, just being involved in coaching your daughter, your son, his father, your wife, all of that, you know, just what they mean to you.
Man, they mean the world to me, man. This is probably the best investment I've ever had in my life. You know what I'm saying? From, you know, from being married to somebody investing in me and for me to invest in somebody else. Besides what my parents invested in me, you know, along with my supporting cast, other family members and friends and stuff like that. You know, just I love the ride that we actually still continue to do with our kids. Both of my kids are in college now. One is a senior, one is a junior. And to me, just to see their growth, their maturity and stuff like that. My wife has always been in my corners. Since the time I first coached, she was a team mom and, you know, try to get these girls. So it was a family thing. It wasn't just me. She was on board as well. She was just like a coach. She began to start seeing certain schemes that I would run and, you know, and she would ask, why is she not doing the play right? You know what I'm saying? So that means she invested in, she was a football fan. She grew up in a football family. So basketball was something totally different, but she loved it because football weather was cold and she wanted to be inside. So basketball was something, the route that she ended up, you know, loving based on me coaching and stuff. And so, you know, the kids really enjoy it. We have a lot of time, we talk about it, but once we're done with basketball, we just do the family thing. We let the sports be. We got to have a balance. And I think sometimes that balance is hard, especially when you know your kid's potential. You know, but, you know, sometimes the wife got to humble me like, yo, you need to let the basketball go. You know, just let this girl be, let this boy be and stuff like that. But again, I just know my kids. Great kids, never got in any trouble and stuff like that. My son, I'm so proud of him right now. He's doing remarkable in college. Nothing like what his dad did in high school. Nothing. He's doing well. He's a major in business management. Awesome. He's into stocks. You know, I want to know stocks, but again, the exposure, the information is given. My daughter's in computer science. She's doing pretty good. She's playing basketball, college basketball. So to me, I can't complain. You know, both of them my son is on academics. She's on the basketball. At the end of the day, that's what I taught my kids. I don't care if you go to a top D1 school. Guess what I want? I just don't want that go college note. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't want the college note. And so for the most part, we have succeeded in that journey. And so a lot of parents don't understand that they want their kid to go to UConn. Guess what? Your child's not UConn talented. It's okay. There's other schools out there that will still allow your kid to grow and nurture and continue to play at a lower price or even no price at all. At the end of the day, can your kid, and that's why we see so many kids these days always transferring because they're not too invested because they're not getting playing time. I ain't transferred when I won't get, you know, playing time my senior year. I didn't care. At the end of the day, my college tuition is paid for. At the end of the day, it's paid for. So in my college career, I could have went overseas, but I didn't want to play no more. Because sometimes we get burnt out and keep on doing this every single day.
No question.
And so, again, reality sets in when it's time to, you know, you're trying to graduate and, you know, what you going to do after that? I don't want to play basketball no more. I want to get up and do no tour days no more. You know, I want to keep on lifting weights. I don't want to do all that stuff. I just want to be a regular person because I missed out on a lot of things from not playing, from playing basketball. Although we travel to have fun and stuff like that, but I didn't get a chance to really do no internships, you know, the work environment and stuff like that. So I missed out on certain things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I missed out on making some money and stuff like that for myself because, you know, back then we didn't get we don't
NIL.
Yeah.
We didn't have the NIL.
We have all that stuff. So, you know, but, you know, like I said, my family, they really, you know, they supported me from me coaching, jumping to that arena. And some players still want me to come back and say, Coach, you need to keep on coaching. You know, some of the parents, you need to keep coaching because of what you gave the kids. and I appreciate and stuff like that. But I'm at a different path in my life right now, and I don't want the headaches with the parents anymore because again, I want to say parents really enable their kids to a different light, and I don't like to me it's called being spoiled. My parents, they gave me the best they could, and I enjoyed what they gave me.
No doubt. Yeah. No, I joke, man, about you know, people talk about what's that show? It's like three of them now, Power. And everybody always talks about how they don't like the character Tariq and how he is entitled and he's spoiled and how he is. And I said, well, at no point are you going to talk about Ghost and Tasha, the parents that raised them.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It ain't like Tariq just grew up. They were part of his mindset. And that's just kind of what you're talking about. And number one, I want to thank you on behalf of your parents and your players because I know what it takes to coach and give up. And I want to say thank you. And I also want to congratulate you and your wife for doing an outstanding job. Because again, parenting, like the human service, social service field, oftentimes is a thankless job. You see the rewards as you are basically about to leave this earth, but at the same time, you see the rewards because that's part of their legacy, which is forever, which is what Vicktory Life is about, which is your legacy spotlight. So, congratulations to you and thank you to you because I know I speak for a lot of players. It's tough, man. Let me tell you something, and we'll get to this last question. It's tough to find great people. It's just as tough to find great coaches who get it, who understand how to teach it, and most importantly, care. I try to tell parents all the time, I get it, you don't like the scheme all the time, or you think out of 21 minutes they should get 18 or whatever, but you don't look at the fact that this man or woman is giving up weekends, oftentimes weekdays and weeknights for practicing, traveling all across the country, dipping into their pocket to cover stuff that you never will know about. On the text message, the reminders, the prayers when you're thinking about a tough practice and they're dealing with something outside of basketball. So that's why I thank you.
Time out. You forgot one thing. I got to create a practice agenda for every practice.
Absolutely. I know about it. Every practice.
Yeah, the schemes and all that stuff. You got to, so it's like outside, you get your regular full time, then you got this part-time volunteer, then you got to still do other stuff on top of it. So it's a lot that comes with it, and parents really don't accept or appreciate. Some parents, I can say all, but some parents don't really appreciate that. And that's the unfortunate thing. I don't care how many times I would tell them in a meeting, like, hey, how many, like you said about the minutes, how many minutes out of the 40 minutes we play your daughter needs to be playing? And to me, it's like, I got some other players that deserve some minutes as well, and I kind of have a system what I do to make sure all of them can come in and compete at a high level because not everybody needs to get 30 minutes in a game.
No,
to be productive, and get the best out of them. And so that's how I used to look at it, man.
Yeah, no, and
you hit the tail on the donkey, man.
Yeah, well, we part of that same village, man. And that's why I wanted to stop right before we ended this thing and give you your respect and pay homage and just remind you about, the legacy you've built and what you continue to do and the influence you had on your players and the influence that you had on your two children and the fact that you and your wife are a great team. So congratulations to you both. And with that perspective and with that statement I just made, we're at the point of the show where we wrap up, where I allow my guests to take everything we just discussed, everything you've been through, and give just some final thoughts and perspective on advice and feedback on what people watching this, if they're going through something, a rough time, if they're trying to figure it out, if they're at a crossroads in their life, based on the adversity you overcome, the success you experienced, the life you living right now that you have lived so far, what do you want to say to help them keep pushing to reach their goals academically, athletically, professionally? What advice you have that's always worked for you that you lean on right now, even as we speak?
One, I want to thank you for reaching out to me or having this conversation about, my spotlight. I was reluctant at first, but again, I'm not one of those who really like to forthcome and talk about my story and stuff like that. And you encouraged me because this could help someone else out. And pretty much all my life, or majority of my adult life, that's what I've been doing, helping someone else out. And so I looked at it in those terms and I said, you know what, let me go ahead and do it. And so I appreciate you for, showing me that and giving me this platform to be able to do that. And one of the things I would definitely say is remain hungry and be humble at the same time. Because humility really will take you a long way in life. One of the things is a lot of people don't know I was about to pledge. And one of the stories told me to write a paper on humility. And I said, you know what? I really don't know what humility really is. And once I started writing and stuff like that, I didn't complete it, but I was like, man, this is a powerful word right here. It means so many different things. So I was humble. And I want to say most people, if they begin to be humble about their situation and not overexcited about things or always expecting the praise and stuff like that, you got to remain humble to keep on pushing forward, and to me, that's one of the biggest things I can say in my life, that I remain humble. Number two, compete every single day, because even if you're not on the court, guess who you can compete with in corporate America? The next person's trying to get this job. And if, again, what I tell you early on, I don't like to lose. So if I don't get one job, that don't mean that means I lost. So I'm gonna keep on going until I get that one job. So I'm not gonna compete. I'm not gonna lose. I'm gonna keep on competing. And so whether it be for performance, goals, and stuff like that, I really don't compete on that. I don't care about being the best in my job and stuff like that. I want to be the best. I want to be the best to this particular person that I'm serving. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's my accolades again that I get from my clients and stuff like that. And to me, that's one I always compete no matter what. And two, three, I enjoy life now. I really enjoy, the people that I've met along my journey, yourself included, the Mario Gatlins, the Time Newsom. The Myron Newsom. I said Times Newsom. Myron Newsom. All my childhood friends and stuff like that, even my adult friends and stuff like that, man. Just enjoying life, because at the end of the day, we can reflect. We have conversations about this all the time. What our era was. I remember back in the days we were talking about breakdance. I used to go to breakdancing at King Street at Hampton University. And so that's what I mean by enjoying yourself, being a kid, enjoying being a kid. Don't try to become an adult too soon. You know what I'm saying? And stop trying to make these adult decisions. Allow the adults, mature adults, to make those decisions for you, to be able to help and guide you. Again, being around a great supporting cast. Don't be around everybody who tells you yes, yes, yes. Be around that person, be like, no, challenge yourself. You need that Mario Gatlin in your ear, be like, yo, he tore your butt up.
Mm-hmm.
So you need somebody like that in your circle, not somebody that's going to keep on, praising you for everything you're doing great, but yet you lost the game because you ain't compete at the end of the game. You ain't defend. So to me, those things right there, man, that really shaped me to who I am today. And lastly but not least, my family, my mom and dad, my stepfather, my biological father, again, Miss Hamlet, Mr. Sean Hamlet. They all gave me an opportunity that I didn't see for myself at one point in time. And once I began to see, even Ahmad's dad, I call him Uncle Junior.
Yeah.
He gave me Coach Hawkins.
Coach Hawkins.
So they gave me an opportunity. And even Coach Smith, even though I didn't play no football, but he was always standing in my ear, again, because of the type of person I was. I was quiet, humble, tall, skinny kid. And just having those people in my circle, I wouldn't change it for the world, man. But I still talk to my college coach, my first college coach at Hampton University. I still talk to him to this day. And that just means that, I've built a nice bond with someone that I can say that, this can be for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So, no, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
I just say, that's, to me, is most important, building relationships with people that you really can say yourself that you truly love and you love them.
No doubt. Jermaine, I had Sean Hamlet on several months ago, and we all know he played. If you don't know, you should know by now. He was a great player like you, played football and basketball and ran track. One of the best athletes I've ever seen and played with. He went to Florida State, and you went to Hampton University. And I'm a few years younger behind you guys. When I was in 10th, you guys were seniors. And I was at a party. You were there, Mario, everybody, all the guys, football, basketball, but even people that didn't play ball. It was a hotel parties at the Red Roof Inn. And people don't know this, man. Back in the day, I probably would have, you know, if they had it, I would have reclassified down to 8th grade because I was 13 in the 9th grade and graduated high school at 17. So my mom and dad, because I was on varsity as a freshman, I wanted to go to the party. I didn't do nothing. I was a little freshman, man, at the party with all you OGs, man. And I looked at you guys, all you guys. Mario was my big brother. All you guys from Shell Road, all the way down to the Kickintan side. I always looked up to y'all, you know. And you know, I remember I went. I don't even know how I was getting home, but my mom and dad said you got to be home. I lived on Vaughn off Shell Road. I had to be home by 12. And you and Sean Hamlet. At the time I didn't know you know, you guys were leaving, but I was like, yo, can I get a ride? And you were like, come on, Big Vic. And I don't remember who was driving. It was like a white car or something.
It was Sean.
It was Sean Hamlet. It was and I got in the back seat and you dropped me off, man. And I remember sitting in the back seat just listening to you and Sean Hamlet talk about what y'all had going on that week and what y'all were gonna do and just talk and listen to music, ride me home. That moment, you have no idea what it did for me because as you mentioned so eloquently in your wrap up and your legacy final point was you always influencing people and you're going to go through it and be humble. And that was a humbling experience for me because I looked up to you guys, just like I looked up to Coach Mike Smith and Coach Adolph Hawkins and all the great guys, Coach Blizzard, Coach Six. For me, I always took those moments in, which is why that's the premise of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. This has been one of my favorite ones. You're one of my favorite people, one of my favorite players. Even now in 2021, I still talk about Jermaine Gholson. And just like me, many of your players, your friends, and family do the same. I want to thank you, Jermaine, for jumping on. This has been great. This has been humbling. Also, I want to thank everybody, his players and coaches and families that's going to watch this Legacy Spotlight. Please continue to support our youth, continue to support our mental health. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, victorylife.com. That's our website, the YouTube channel, Vicktory Life, for more great interviews like this. And like I say, every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact and you leave a great legacy. Salute to everyone watching. Thank you, Jermaine. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.